So the phrase great minds think alike. I think that's true. I think great minds think alike. Great minds also think differently, but some of them tend to think alike. But I think that small minds also think alike. I'm pretty sure this is true. And I think that's increasingly more obvious, to me at least, after COVID came out. And specifically, the reason I think that is there are people out there saying like, hey, I don't think COVID's a real big deal. Like, there's only 2 people. I work at a hospital and there's only 2 people that have it, that ever had it in my hospital. And that might be true. Okay. I'm just going to give you the benefit of the doubt because I think that's an interesting starting point. And I think we should just give it to you. If that's true, why does that also mean that it's probably true everywhere else? That's what I think a small mind is. Someone who has a spotlight right on something just in front of them. And it's like, well, this is my world. Therefore, it's everyone else's world as well. There's only 2 people here that have COVID. And so then everywhere else, it must be exactly the same. Read a book. Pull your head out of wherever you've got it securely lodged. But I think that a lot of people have that. I think that's very true. I think it's small minds. They're out there. I mean, to a certain extent, we're all kind of small-minded. You can't really measure it. I'm sure I've been small-minded tons of times. I have to be small-minded to have a podcast. I have to assume the world needs me. Even though I have no information telling me that. I've got to be small-minded enough to think that. Or that somebody might enjoy this. Like, the whole point of this is to be entertaining. And hopefully it is. It entertains me at least. So that's 1 person. My mom, that's 2. And maybe a few others. Great. But I have to, that's one time where I think a small mind may come in handy. I have to assume that it's gold when it hits the airwaves, when Spotify gets it. Because back to the review thing, I don't want to read the reviews. I think that's terrible on the creative process. I think because you can't let that stuff get to you. You can't let it seep in under your skin and then start self-censoring. Oh, will they like this? Will they not like this? Oh God, I can't. I gotta fix that. And then you end up not writing anything because you're just thinking, oh God, you're scared. I've been like that. That happens all the time. I mean, I think you kind of have to walk a fine line when you write material for stand-up. At least for me, I do. Because when I write it, I have to be able to shut off the front of my brain a little bit, long enough to be able to spit something out on the page and then take it to the stage and see if anybody likes it. Oftentimes, nobody does. And that's the time when you need to read the room or read the reviews in that case. And it's like, okay, none of that worked. Good to know. But then you have to find a way to shut that right back off. I've read 1 review for this podcast, only because it was like day 1 or 2, and somebody described it as a long-winded voicemail from your friend who won't shut up, but who has funny thoughts on things. I might be paraphrasing. It might have been a 1-star review, but I think it was great. I just wanted that one. That was a positive thing. Great. And then, you have to kind of keep tricking yourself that things are all good in order to produce something. And then, the world can bash it. They can cancel it, bash it, get out there and get into it. Those are apparently the only 2 options now. It feels like there's no longer like a discussion. It's no longer, this isn't for me. It's, I heard something, I didn't like it, they should die. Which is frightening. I think that, I don't know, I think that's like people living in a very black and white world where it's only my thought and the wrong way. My way and the wrong way. There's a lot of other ways, man. Which, I had to grapple with that when our current president was elected, and I didn't think that was going to happen, but clearly everybody was wrong, that didn't think it was going to happen. And it turned out there were a lot of people who voted for him. And that was that's a wake up call, I think, to a lot of people. This has been hashed out. This is not new news. It's been hashed out, I think, in the news. It's old news. At one point it was new news. Now it's really old news. But I use that as an example to remind myself that there are other people out there who are different from me. It's not I have to remember that when I feel like a small mind, there's others out there. There are other small minds. And hopefully by realizing that, maybe I can expand my mind a little bit and pay attention. But yeah, and then have a discussion. If you're at all interested in this topic, there is a book that I would very highly recommend that I think I read in my book club 8 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. It was definitely before Trump, but I think it's even more important now. And it's Jonathan Haidt, Haidt is the author. And The Righteous Mind. Oh, yes. Righteous Mind. Go buy it. Get it. It's so good. The gist of it is it gives readers a vocabulary to think about and analyze and talk about people with differing opinions. So the most obvious one is conservatives and liberals, but on specific things, right? So it could be gun rights or abortion or religion or, whatever it is. But the whole point of the book is these are important things to one group, but not important things to another group. How can those two groups talk about those things? It is, again, it helps it helped me at least understand why people have differing opinions and very strongly differing, and how to have a better, more fruitful conversation between those two groups, or between or among all groups, but specifically, if we're just using examples here of liberal and conservative on a specific thing, let's just say it's fiscal conservative versus a fiscal liberal or something like that. It helps us understand what's a way that these two people can talk a little bit more. I was almost going to say a little bit more better, because I'm from the South. No,